You are listening to Dog Decks Radio, the nation's animal station.
We were horrified to see the scale of bushfires across Australia, a disaster made even more poignant for us as a family, having lived in this great country for many, many years. A beacon of hope shone throughout in the form of a little rescue dog called Bear. Trained to seek out live koalas and working on behalf of the International Fund for Animal Welfare, Dale hopped onto a Zoom and caught up with Josie Sharrad, who manages IFAW's Native Wildlife Rescue and liaises with local rescue centres. Josie also helps to get detection dog Bear out to the most vital search areas to rescue koalas in need. This is what Josie had to tell us about him.
Bear's work continues. He's out in the field and amazingly he's still finding koalas in need of rescue. To date, Team Bear has located over 100 koalas in the wake of the fires, and many of these koalas would not have been found without him. Koalas were particularly badly hit by these bushfires. They're particularly vulnerable to fires. They live high up in highly flammable eucalypt trees, and sometimes fires along the ground or grass level, they can actually escape the flames by climbing up the trees. But unfortunately, these fires were so intense and they were crown fires that swept through the treetops. So many of these koalas didn't stand a chance of escape. And those that were lucky enough to survive suffered smoke inhalation and burns to their hands and feet from actually trying to climb those burning trees. And koalas can survive for weeks or up to months after a fire. They are often dehydrated, not a lot of habitat for them to live in. They can be suffering from smoke inhalation with burns. So it's really critical that we actually find them as soon as possible. And many are in remote areas, quite inaccessible. So we use the drone as well to spot them. And they're really hard to see with the human eye. They're very cryptic animals, they're little grey balls of fur sitting high up in the treetops, and almost impossible to spot with the human eye. I mean, even professional koala spotters have been known to miss up to 80% of koalas. And that's where Bear has been our secret weapon, because he can smell what we can't see.
Yeah, which is excellent, isn't it? You know, having that sense of being able to find where they are, and they're not visible to the human eye. It certainly would have brought in quite a number of which you wouldn't have got in the first place.
Oh, we would never have been able to find those koalas. Those koalas would have suffered and died without Bear, basically. So, a dog's sense of smell is up to 10,000 times stronger than humans. So he can take us straight to where those koalas actually are, so we can rescue them quickly.
And he's still in the bush at the minute and continuing with the team.
He's still out there with the team. So he's part of a team of detection dogs at the University of the Sunshine Coast, Detection Dogs Conservation Unit. So he's part of a 4-legged team. So each dog has a different speciality, like a scent they're trained on. So a lot of the dogs are trained on koala scat, basically poo, which is very useful for research purposes. Bear is actually trained on the scent of live koala fur. So he has a bit of a harder job. So he has to actually detect those live koalas, which is particularly important for rescue situations like the fires.
Definitely.
So at the moment, Team Bear is in the fields conducting a joint research project with IFAW and the University of Sunshine Coast into the long-term impact of fires on koala health. So collecting scats, you can tell a lot about koala health and genetics from their poo. So we're taking that poo into the lab and doing genetic testing and getting the results and hopefully finding out information that will help us protect those key at-risk koala populations into the future.
Which leads me on to the next question, the threats that the modern koalas face. Can you tell us a bit about, what might happen in the future with, the not only bushfire but also urbanization and stuff like that it may impact upon the koalas.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Australia used to have millions of koalas. They were abundant in most places in Australia. And then after European settlements, koalas were a commodity, basically. They were hunted almost to extinction for their fur, and their fur was waterproof, so it was used to make gloves and hats, and millions of pelts were exported to Europe and America. And that trade was only halted in the last century after the US banned koala fur imports in 1927. Then slowly those koala populations began to recover, but then they faced a different threat with urbanization, which was basically habitat loss. So we were cutting down their forest homes to build our own. And Australia has one of the world's worst deforestation rates. New South Wales on a par with Brazil. And their forest homes are disappearing at an alarming rate. And koalas can't live without trees. And koalas and humans like to live in the same places. So sadly, there's been that conflict. And koalas have been, as we cut down their trees, they're forced onto the ground into urban areas where they encounter cars and dogs and other threats. And they're also suffering from a prolonged drought. So every animal coming into care was already compromised before the fires, and numbers were steadily declining. And then the fires hit, and this was just the last straw. And the fires that everyone was dreading and struck at the heart of many key koala populations and burned millions of hectares of prime koala habitat. So they're left really fighting for their survival. They were already on a knife edge before the fires, and we fear this could tip them over the edge. We commissioned a report by BioLink that showed that over 6,300 koalas in New South Wales alone were killed in the fires. That's 15% of the population lost, and that's a conservative estimate. And over the past 20 years, we've lost 2 out of 3 koalas, which is a huge blow. And IFAW is calling for the state's population to be uplisted from vulnerable to endangered, to give them that extra protection and the breathing space they need to recover, because they need all the help they can get right now.
And also, they're prone to chlamydia, aren't they?
Yes, they are, sadly. It's one of the key diseases, and koala retrovirus. So that's a real killer for koalas. So that's an added threat. So they're stacked against them. And as I say, they need all the help that they can get right now.
Mm. Once you've rescued them and rehabilitated and released, is there anything that can be done to make the koala's future more secure?
Well, the key thing is habitat, providing a safe habitat, and habitat loss is one of the key threats to koalas. So they were already facing this challenge of a lack of habitat. A lot of the koalas actually rescued during the fires are still undergoing rehabilitation, and a lot of carers are actually waiting for the habitat to regrow enough so they can actually find suitable, safe habitat to release them into. Because with koalas, you have to release them. They're very territorial. They have a home range, and so you have to release them very close to where you found them. Right. So that's been a particular challenge in these circumstances. So we've thankfully had a lot of rain, a lot of places, so regrowth has started. So people are identifying suitable release sites, and we're actually tracking some koalas. We're actually tracking a koala that was named Bear after his rescuer. He was released at Two Thumbs Sanctuary a couple of weeks ago, so he's doing really well. So we're tracking him. But yeah, it's always a risk actually, because we have to find that suitable. We want to know that koalas are actually going to survive once you release them. So it's important to be able to track them and make sure that they're doing okay. But yes, habitat loss and habitat restoration is a key, is a really important thing to at the moment. So IFAW is supporting a lot of community efforts to tree planting efforts to restore that burned habitat and to restore that connectivity. So giving a lifeline to koalas for the future.
Because I suppose it's not as if you can just plant the tree and then it's grown in a minute, is it? And say, oh, yeah, well, there you go. We've put some more habitat back for you. It's going to take quite a while for the bush to recover and for them to have enough of a habitat to sustain the population as well. So,
yes.
I suppose a lot of your koalas that are being rehabilitated are actually just staying with the humans that are looking after them. Is that the case?
Yes, at the moment, or they're released into what we call soft release sites where they can learn to climb and trees and get used to the local leaf. But yes, as you say, it takes a while. You can't just plant a tree and expect a koala to move in. But it's all about creating that connectivity and the corridors that connecting patches of land and patches of trees. So we allow koalas that those corridors, that safe passage away from humans, basically. So it's a long term effort, and yes, it's a community effort as well, and not just a local community. I think it's a bit of a global community. We were blown away here by the international support that was shown during the bushfires for everyone, for Australia, for native wildlife, but particularly for koalas. So we really want to galvanize that global support, because koalas aren't just an icon for Australia. They are a national treasure and both an international treasure as well. So and Australia without koalas was unthinkable. A world without koalas is unthinkable. So it's up to all of us, the global community, to help secure the species for future generations.
Yes. Now, going back to Bear and his colleagues, what makes a good detection dog?
That's a very good question. Often, actually, the worst pets make the best detection dogs. So that's why IFAW partners with the University of Sunshine Coast Detection Dogs for Conservation, and they only recruit dogs from shelters. So it's a win-win, really. So we're not only saving dogs from death row to help save a species from extinction. So we're one animal helping another. And a lot of reasons why, not just in terms of animal welfare, but also often the dogs that are abandoned because they don't make ideal pets. They're high energy, they're ball obsessed, maybe a little OCD, which was what Bear was. Bear was actually abandoned and readopted several times. And when we put the call out for recruits for the training to be a koala detection dog, his owners actually surrendered him, as they thought he would be well suited to that role. And he was from the moment we met him, we knew that he was the one. And he passed his initial scent test with flying colours, and he was locating koalas in the wild in no time. So he was just a natural and born to do that. So it's important for a conservation dog to have zero prey drive. We say they like to have 100% play drive and zero prey drive. They can't have any interest in wild animals because they can't be considered a threat. So Bear has zero interest in koalas. He probably wouldn't even know what one was if he came across one. The only thing he's interested in is his ball, and that's his reward. So all the dogs are trained using positive reinforcement techniques, like reward as opposed to punishment. So all that Bear cares about in the world really is playing and his ball. So that's the perfect reward for him.
Certainly is. So how long does it take to train a dog like Bear?
That really depends on the dog and also the smell, but generally a few weeks to months. So when we trained Bear, he had a particularly difficult job as he was trained on the scent of koala fur rather than poo. So his job is to locate live koalas that are living in trees, as opposed to poo on the ground, which is a bit easier. So yeah, he had a bit of a challenging job, but he was a natural. So yeah, he was out in the field within a few months. And when he locates a koala in the field, he indicates to his humans by dropping to the ground underneath the tree where he can smell the koala, and then it's ultimately up to humans to find the koala before he can be then rewarded with his ball for his reward.
Right. Yeah. Which so someone scampers up the tree, gets the koala, brings it down, and gives him his reward.
No,
not quite, but yes.
As soon as the humans actually spot the koala, then bear can get rewarded,
Yeah.
and then the humans can assess the koala from the ground, and see signs of disease or injury, and then if that koala looks like it's in need of rescue, then we either coax the koala down the tree or set a trap for the koala to come down of its own accord.
Right. And is the work that you're doing just mainly in northern New South Wales, Queensland areas, or are you doing it Australia-wide?
No, mainly in New South Wales and all across New South Wales, in fact, and in Queensland. He hasn't been to Victoria as yet. There's so much. I mean, New South Wales is one of the worst hit states in the fires. So Bears actually lives up on the Sunshine Coast, but he's been working across Queensland and New South Wales. Yes, so he's been in southern New South Wales, northern New South Wales, and southeast Queensland to date.
You.